Hey guys, this is episode 6 of Athlete Next Door. Today the sponsor is going to be strongdadapparel.com. So I'm Taylor, I'm going to be the host of it today, and I got my guests here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
JD Hill.
Aaron Farmen.
Alright, so of course I got my cheat sheet with me today. Let's get into the background. You guys both are from different sports. You train for different bodybuilding versus strongman. I just want to starting with you, James, where the background in lifting started. Your journey into sports as a child leading up through school, college, and to what it is now.
Okay, hopefully you got a long time because playing sports for a long time. I started from a young age. I did sports. My dad was a high school basketball coach.
Is he your height?
Yeah, my dad's actually a little taller than I am.
Okay.
Actually, actually, I was born on a college campus. Both my parents played. My mom played volleyball. My dad played basketball. So I was kind of born into athletic, background.
Yeah.
My dad always coached. I always had a basketball in my hand. That's a theme you'll see here. And they put me in everything right away. Obviously, I was a really big kid, and that was a huge advantage just in everything. When you're a foot taller than everybody and you're faster than everybody, just because you've developed faster, it makes sports easier. And so then it makes you enjoy sports. And then, so I really like that. I was the kid who I loved watching sports. I love doing sports. I love talking to my dad about sports or whatever. So that was my life. I pretty much did everything. I would say, you can name a sport and I did it growing up. But in high school, I played a little football, probably the sport, biggest regret I ever have is not continuing to play football. But my school that I went to did not have football. I had to play for another school. Didn't have a lot of friends there when I got to high school that played, so I kind of, for that reason, went away from it.
Okay.
I would say basketball. Basketball is a sport that people that are familiar with me would say, oh, that was his sport. I was an okay high school player, nothing spectacular. And then I did track and field. I was a thrower mostly. And that's really, if we're going to talk about lifting weights, that's probably the very first experience was really from that. Also my school, because we didn't have football, we didn't really have a dedicated weight room. So I think my first experience lifting weights was probably 8th grade. I think it was 8th grade, and it was the track coach. He set up, our school had built a new campus and we didn't have a weight room, and he kind of set up a temporary weight room and we taught 0 period weights. And I did that. He did it one semester. I did that. That was my first time lifting weights, and I look back at Mr. Wilkinson's class and I was like, man, okay, he actually knew what he was talking about. There was a lot of things that are just the basics of lifting weights, and so that was really the first time. And then after that, I only really lifted weights in track season, because he was also the track coach, so he would then set that up during track season, and it was kind of a simple workout because we also had to throw and stuff. So
Sure.
Just a couple days a week. There wasn't anything. That's all the weightlifting I ever really did in high school.
Nothing related to basketball, just it was for
no,
track
not
season?
really for basketball. No, basketball, I just played basketball a lot.
Yeah.
If for anything in basketball, I had to go for a run. To get in shape a little bit that way. But
Sure.
no, not really. I should have done more. Now that I know what Aaron taught me and all these things that I've learned as I've gotten older, like, man, I could have done a lot more, but I just didn't have that education in it. And even my dad, being a basketball guy, that wasn't his education in it either. It was just play basketball, work on basketball skills. So
That's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
yeah, so things are different now. So anyways, I did that. I went to college and played small college basketball, NAIA level, and I did lift some weights there. I had some guys on my team that lifted weights that were like sports science majors. They were good in shape guys, and we'd take advice from them, and had one of them write me a program one time I did for about probably the longest stretch I've really ever lifted before I started lifting with Aaron. I did about 9 months of lifting weights at one point. straight, and that was probably the most I've ever stuck to it. And I got in really good shape. Unfortunately, I wasn't the greatest student during that time, and was not. Those were early years of college where I wasn't real serious yet, and that caused some problems. But then, anyways, after I kind of went away from that, and I got, I was done playing sports at college after I finished playing basketball, and I
Played all 4 years.
yeah, I ended up playing 5 because I had a red shirt here and there. And then when I got a job as a teacher, I started coaching as an assistant, and that was always basketball. And I also coached track a little bit. So I did have a little bit of a basic lifting program that I'd have, similar to, because my old track coach, throwing coach, was actually still the throwing coach who worked for me as the head coach when I was coaching track. So I did that for a while, assistant coaching basketball. After I switched schools, I came up here to Mill City, where we're at today. That's where this gym is at, and I've been here this is my 12th year, and this is the first year I have not coached. For 11 years, I was a basketball coach, varsity basketball coach. So that's what I did. But really,
what size is your high school?
we're a 2A here in Oregon, so it's the second smallest.
2A, that's what my town is.
Okay, yeah. So it's probably we got a couple communities here that all go feed into one school, but yeah. So I coached only lifting weights. I had from the age probably 23 till I met Aaron at 37. I think when I met Aaron, I did CrossFit kind of spring to fallish for 2 different summers, kind of, because I was a teacher and I quit coaching basketball, and I wanted to lose weight. I went to a CrossFit gym. At that time I lived in Jefferson, and if anybody knows what that is, it's close to Albany. Albany had CrossFit gyms. So I went to CrossFit gyms to lose some weight, and I was terrible at CrossFit. I could lift heavy weights at everybody, but that doesn't help you in CrossFit. I died every day, but I did lose weight. So I did that, but then I'd go coach basketball again, and I'd give it up because it's too much travel, driving up here, driving back there. It's an hour drive, so I couldn't do it. And I think that was 31 when I did that. And I literally didn't touch weights other than maybe like that 2-week, like I'm gonna get in shape type stuff you do every now and then. I probably didn't touch weights until I met him at 37 years old. And that's really where it started. We had a mutual friend who's coached with me in basketball for many years. One of his best friends growing up, and that mutual friend was helping me lose weight because I was getting pretty heavy. I'm heavier than I am right now, and it wasn't muscle.
What were you at?
The highest I ever was 383 pounds. I'm about 375 right now, but I'm a lot better body composition than at that time.
Sure.
And I've been as low as, working with him, 315. So I've kind of built back, went all the way down to 315, kind of built back up from there. So, so I can't remember where I was at there. So
you met him?
Met him, yeah. So a mutual friend said he was helping me lose weight. And one day we were doing our push-up, because we were doing all body weight stuff, and then a little bit of jogging and some, burpees and terrible stuff, Yeah. And then I was like, man, it'd really be nice to just bench press. I just wanted to bench press. He's like, well, I got this friend Aaron. He told me about Aaron, but I just never really listened to him. It's like Aaron knows about lifting weights. It's like, oh yeah, someone knows about lifting weights or something. So I was just like, but at that time he said it, and I was like, you know what? He was training one of my players that played for me in basketball at that time. And this was kind of COVID-ish era, so I had a lot of free time as well. Yeah. And I was like, okay, our friend's name is Spike, and I said, sure, Spike. Introduced me to him. I don't know if he's gonna want me to stick around or if I'll just get in his way. And yeah, the rest is history. I mean, he took me from that time walking in the gym, worked out a day, told me I should do strongman.
right away.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk later about just signing up for the competitions and stuff. But then, from that to OSG and getting 7th place at OSG, and like at that time, like 3.5 years. So
was that a big factor for you So a few months ago when you were at OSG, you hit 7th in the world for the 40 plus category, on TV in front of everyone. Did that make you really see that I've only been in this a couple years, you could do more?
Yeah, for sure. I didn't really even know about OSG too much until like maybe a year before I kind of saw the previous OSG.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool. And I kind of looked at the weights they did and I was like, no, maybe I could do that if I keep training, and then we just been making progress, and numbers kept going up and up and up, and I was like, oh man, I could be pretty good at this, but yeah, it's
people will train 20 years just to get to a position of competing somewhere like that.
Yeah, so
and you just kind of on a whim kind of got to that position.
yeah.
So
you don't know exactly like where, sometimes I feel like I'm starting to hit a wall, but I don't know yet,
Yeah. That's cool.
We haven't got there yet, and I think there's still some room, I'm not getting younger though, 41 now, so
you got plenty of time.
We'll see what happens. So, but yeah, that's the story of me and lifting weights. Now I've strung together, just hit like a 4-year anniversary working out together. I think it was almost like March 1st to the day. It was like the first 2021. I think first workout. It was like March 1st or 2nd.
That's
I
awesome.
ever did. Yeah, so here we are.
You're pushing 500 on a bench.
Yeah.
What's your squat and deadlift feeling?
They're the 700s.
Okay.
I'd say low end 700s. Yeah, I think it's been a little while. We've kind of taken a different approach for the last couple months, but right before that, that's where they were at. So
cool.
We'll see what happens at the end of this kind of build up where I'm at. So,
yeah. When's your next shows you're thinking?
We're gonna do Rainier in June.
Yeah. You doing the pro-am?
No, I'm not going to do the pro-am. I wanted to initially do the Masters. Kind of wanted to get that title of the strongest master, kind of Northwest, but they released the weights, and I was like, well, I don't think that really keep me bought in for training, because it's all stuff that I could really do pretty easily, and I would really like to be challenged a little bit more. So I was like, well, just the open amateur is probably good for me. I'm not that pro-am is probably as good of any pro-am there is, really, and I'm not ready to compete at that level with those young guys yet. So yeah,
okay,
maybe in a few events, but yeah, some of them are pretty far out there and some stuff. So
sweet,
yeah,
that's awesome. So you just plan to okay, cool.
Yeah, and then I'm doing ugly sweater contest in December.
Yeah, so just more local stuff.
Yeah. So those two, I'm not going to do OSG this year. I'm going to try to wait till 2026, and that's kind of something that we've talked about, is OSG is a commitment, and trying to get back there and win. Actually say I'm the strongest 40-year-old. I know the younger guys are going to come up, and that's going to be a challenge too. But like the guy who won it, Matt Webb, last year, he's on another level. Even though I'm 7th, there's a big difference between 1st and 7th, and a big difference, and at the same time a small difference. And I want in 2 years really to just be like, hey, I'm gonna try to close that gap.
Yeah.
And that way, when I go back, I'm not saying I'm gonna guarantee myself a victory by any means, but I want to be able to go, hey, I'm here, and I really think I have a legit shot to win. And and that's
not be one of those guys that just goes for the invite. Goes to nationals. Those guys that go to USS nationals just to get 35th and tell everyone, hey, I went to nationals. It's that's the point.
I mean, and honestly, I was probably that guy for OSG the last time, and then I ended up making the final. So that was a fun experience.
Perfect. Okay, so that's kind of we talked about how you guys kind of met. So, I want to talk about kind of your background then, where you started as a kid, into bodybuilding, into now as a trainer.
Right, so this is the exact opposite beginning that I had and he had. I always loved football. And then when it became time to play, I wasn't able to do it because I had a kidney removed when I was 12 weeks old. So it's what now? So then I started playing basketball. I was in the 7th grade and I was so far behind everybody. Plus I was the shortest kid in school. I was really fast, but I didn't have the hand-eye coordination. And it took me a couple of years to really build up to that. Ended up playing basketball in high school. Moved to Mill City here, played for San Diego when I was a sophomore. And we went really deep into state and had a really, really good team. And my buddy Spike was on that team. At a certain point, I realized if I needed to get better, I needed to, even though I was really fast, I needed to get even faster. I needed to be able to jump higher, and I needed to put on some size. So I think for Christmas, I got a little selectorized dumbbell set, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I would run up about 100 meters up my gravel hill and do sprints after practice until I was dead. Then I would get on the steps and I would do fast-paced stuff, ups and downs with my feet, and then before I went to bed, I would do just a crap ton of curls and dumbbell kickbacks, and that's all I do, and I did it, and it actually worked.
Yeah.
That was my first introduction to lifting weights, and I did it all by myself, so I was like, okay, there's something to this. So then after I graduated, I still played basketball in open gyms and stuff, and in basketball leagues.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to kind of push it, so I started to lift at a commercial gym in Albany. Went to a Gold's Gym back in the day, and I went for like 47 days straight. Just didn't know what I was doing, hit machines and everything. But then I saw, well, I'm getting stronger, and there's this progression to it.
Sure.
And I started looking different. Then I kind of switched from basketball to being a gym rat.
Is that about high school era?
Right after high school.
After, okay.
Yeah, right after high school. So probably in '99, I graduated in '96. '99, I was in full swing lifting weights.
Cool.
And then I started lifting twice a day, and my body started to change.
Mm-hmm.
Then I bought every single DVD, every single magazine. This was before the internet era was really taking off. And just started reading everything I could get my hands on.
Yeah, that's the only media you had at that point. That's, even before bodybuilding.com was utilized.
Yeah, there was nothing. So I just kept, and then I joined a gym in Staten, was lifting there, got offered a part-time job there on the weekends, so I started working there. That's where I met my wife. I signed her up for a gym membership.
Nice.
And then,
good salesman.
And then I was over there squatting. I was squatting 4 plates, and a lady brought her son in and said, I want him to train my kid. And she was like, well, he's not a trainer. And she goes, I don't care. So she's like, would you like to get a personal training degree and start training for the gym? I'm like, absolutely. So I got like the cheapest one. They didn't care. Wasn't nationally accredited or anything. And then,
sure.
and then I started training.
Yeah.
That was the first part of personal training. It was fitness training. Didn't really know how to do it. And it started working, and then I started reading more. The internet came along, and then I just went down a rabbit hole that's been, the last 15 years.
Yeah,
it's
ever changing.
Yeah, so that's how I found out about the conjugate system and West Side Barbell and stuff. I really went down that rabbit hole. And then in 2011, I did a bodybuilding competition, it was a natural one in Vancouver, Washington, and placed first in my lightweight division. Didn't go the way I planned. I won, but it was not exactly what I wanted, and then I just stepped away from it because I as much as I liked the lifestyle, it was so obscure to step up on a stage wearing trunks and flexing in front of people. That's not what I was into.
Sure.
I just wanted to build my body. I didn't necessarily need to show it off. So
you didn't want to have to prove it on a stage.
Yeah.
You enjoyed the build-up. Was what you enjoyed.
Enjoyed the build-up, something that, like he was talking about, I need something to train for. Well, stepped away from that, and then I just wanted to, I'm a gym rat, so it's okay for me to come in and bust my butt every single day, and really like that. And then started helping some of the kids around here, and then that's how JD happened. They walked into Spike that one day. I was really working on, I was like, I want to see how much I can bench. So I really started to delve into that and working on it. It was shooting up. He came in, and I think I looked over at the other kid that was training with me, Trenton, and I said, in about 2 weeks, I'll be the second strongest person in Mill City, because I knew right away.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to have somebody come in that was athletic and as big as he is at that time.
Yeah.
To kind of help springboard me along this training journey. You know, and it's been I've been blessed because I can train a strongman right next to a volleyball player with a 77-year-old track athlete. Get it all done in this small gym in Mill City, and that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I started this podcast with Athlete Next Door. It's about just, I've seen so much home gym utilization in the Northwest. There's so much strength in our area that people don't really realize. And the fact that just right next door, you know, someone's garage, you can be training at elite levels and no one's gonna know. And this is just kind of an opportunity to delve into some of that a little deeper and get to know little quirks and little things like this. Like we talked about in the last episode, you know, different, you know, each plate is a different brand and it doesn't matter. It's, you know, you're getting the weight, you're getting the reps in and doing everything you can to change your own life, everyone else's, you know, maintain that mental balance that goes forgotten too often nowadays.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I literally was next door.
Yeah.
I lived here for 2 years before. I mean,
walking distance.
we used to live where his old house was is like, yeah, not even a quarter mile from my house, and I had no idea.
That's awesome. Just like with my coach, I found out he was a street and a half away from me.
Yeah.
I say that because it's down to the end and then a little bit over.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's why we do what we do with him. Okay, so next kind of thing to talk about is just a little bit about your guys' training. Like what your current programming kind of is aiming towards and kind of the goals that you have in the next 5 years for each of you.
Okay. Well, I mean, the majority of the training we've done has been conjugate training. I wouldn't say, I mean, we both are fans of West Side, you know, barbell, West Side conjugate. I wouldn't say we do West Side conjugate training because that's, you know, that is for geared powerlifters, and I'm not a geared powerlifter, I'm a strongman. We've just taken the best of that stuff and then mixed it with basically everything else. I mean, we really do a little bit of everything. I think we just like for the longest time, like the conjugate method where you try to concurrent do everything you do, you know, but you still got your maximal strength, which I would say, you know, like you could look at a lot of different programs, but taking someone like me that had a big body, had the ability for strength, but really had never lifted a lot and didn't know how to lift heavy, it's taught me how to lift heavy. You know what I mean? It's made me comfortable with, you know, doing 1,000-pound yoke or what, you know, just because the ideas behind it, and it's and then also just all the dynamic part of it that we've kind of kept into, and just being an explosive athlete and strong that way. So we do a lot of that. Currently, we mix in some other stuff. We're kind of trying. What I learned at OSG was that my conditioning sucked, and I need to be better conditioned.
Sure.
That was a big thing. And also because I'm somewhat of a new lifter in a way, I need to build a little more tissue, you know, get a little bit bigger muscles just to continue to keep that strength going up. So we're taking a little bit of time to do some of that right now, but we're about 2 more weeks and we're back to some of the conjugate stuff we were doing. And so I'd say that's what I'm kind of doing leading into Rainier, and then we'll kind of cycle that again. So
you guys like follow the same training together? Do you just kind of lift with him on those?
I do. I've got some back issues because I've been doing this so long. So there's a lot of times I step away when we're doing legs and I'll go do something different.
A little bit of deloaded of the spine.
Exactly. So if he's I'm not feeling it that day and he's doing super heavy squats, I'll just go over there and kill myself in the GHD, or I'll do dumbbell squats, something that's a little bit nicer. But I mean, I sat down with him at his kitchen table and we said, okay, we got to write out some rules when we start this. Okay, what are we gonna do? The number one thing was max effort. Okay, it rules all strengths. Anybody that can lift, the guy that can lift 400 pounds is gonna bench press 225. faster and for more reps than the guy that can bench press 315. So it'll just help out with everything. He needed to get strong. He wasn't strong at that point. So we didn't have all the stuff we have now. We had basically a squat rack, some dumbbells. I said, we're just going to make you as strong as we possibly can, and then we'll buy stuff as we get it. So we went into a conjugate program, worked on absolute strength. We worked on the speed of lifting.
Yeah.
And then we tried to work on the conditioning with pulling sleds and stuff to take an athlete that was as big as he was and out of shape to try to get him into competition level at the shortest period of time was where it was at that time.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Yeah, and of course with conjugate, it's, some people hate it, some people love it, some people just don't understand it. But you know, you look at it, it's the same concept. I look at it like the diets. You know, like you think of like the diet methods. The diet that works the best is the one you stick to. You know, it's so if people want to like conjugate or not, it doesn't matter. If you can enjoy a program enough to stick with it for a few years and you like doing it, well, then that's what you need to do.
Yep. And I think people feel like they need to stick like too much to a West Side, you know, or whatever. If they're going to do conjugate, then they have to do it exactly as Louis Simmons prescribed it, and that's not what we do. We just took the stuff that we know would work really good for making you strong as a strongman, and we used that. But we also took, you know, the other stuff that's obvious that you need to do as well to be a strongman. That's not anything that Louis Simmons ever did, but it's like, well, I got to do that, you know, because I'm a strongman. So there's plenty of that, and I think you know, the only really issue with the West Side I feel like we've ever ran into is just the conditioning piece, because we live in Oregon and it's always raining outside, you know, doing some of those, and then the length of the workouts to do, if you're doing a concurrent system, to do all these different things, to do all the conditioning work that I need to do was really hard to fit it into that schedule.
So you would have to work out twice a day.
Yeah,
that's sometimes like, impossible.
Yeah, we work, we can't do that.
We all got kids, we know.
So there's some things we monitor, but that's literally what we do now, is just say like, hey, okay, that is our bread and butter, but like, let's also then make sure that I'm hitting these other things that need to be worked on. But then we go right back to it, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not gonna get like worse or weaker by, you know, getting in better shape. So
just open-mindedness.
Yeah,
you know,
so
people, you know, just like I love, like when I did a lot more carnivore, like going back to like the diet relation, you know, I love doing that. I loved how it made me feel just eating better. But then people don't have to be so die-hard on it. You know, I'll eat asparagus all the time, my wife, and I love cooking asparagus or potatoes and stuff. You don't have to just only eat meat. You can, you know, add those vegetables in. It's the same thing. You know? Keeping it open. You don't have to be hardcore on it and then fight to the death of this is perfect. Because, well, no one method is perfect. So
I do think the mistake though that some strongmen, and he kind of was talking about this, is just getting me as strong as possible. I think they don't like really attack that. They go and just get as good as possible at events. Yeah. And it's like, I think you got to be careful. I saw this at the highest level of OSG. You do have to be good at events if you want to win. And that is something you got to be prepared for sure. But it doesn't take as long as you think probably to be as good at events. You know what I mean? Like if you come into, if you show up strong and then you go and drill those events for 3-4 weeks, you're gonna be ready to go. Yeah. You don't need to do 26 weeks of yoke to be good at yoke. Yeah. Like you just need, you know, like you need to just be really strong in everything, and then those last couple weeks, get yourself ready for the comp, and you're gonna be, you know, you're gonna be fine. I think too many people waste the opportunity of getting stronger by always doing events. It's like that's where it becomes like, how do you progress? You know, like, all right, you're always doing a sandbag. Do you have a 205 sandbag, a 210 sandbag, a 215 sandbag, or what do you do? You know, how do you progress that to the next thing? Where in the gym, when you're doing more like the traditional lifting stuff, like you can track how you progress that. You can make that measurable, and
And luckily, it's a sport where you have to be well-rounded to accomplish those events. Like, as we just mentioned, like the athleticism is required. You have to be an athlete to be able to just adapt to any outcome, and that's where you see some of the holdback when people delve deeper into powerlifting. They get really good at 3-step movements. And when they get injured, it's because it's not something they're well-rounded.
And that brings me to the second point, was when we sat down at the kitchen table and talked about it, the second rule was make it recordable. So no matter what we were doing, we could record it and look back later and make sure that we have those records to beat, right? So it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's conjugate or you're doing block training, as long as you can make a record of it and beat the last one, and then go back to it again and beat that, and then see your progression and make it linear, you're going to get strong no matter what. So it doesn't really matter what side of the fence you're on. Just get stronger over a period of time and then beat those records. So anybody that's ever put a log in their hands and pressed it up overhead knows what their max is. And if you test it now, you know where it's at, and you go, okay, how did I get to that strength when I'm not there right now? Look back at everything else that you're doing that takes the place of that. And if you have a log coming up, you better spend some time on a log. But that doesn't mean you have to take other things out of your plan.
And I know another negative thing is just the maxing out all the time. I know a lot of people out there are scared of that. But if you do enough variations, especially, and those variations are rotated through, and by the time I get back to the thing that's like the heaviest variation, the back squat, let's say, it's been at least 8 weeks since I've done that. And did I do it even for a 1-rep max? Maybe I did it with bands or something the time before. This time I'm gonna do it without bands, and maybe not to a box. So it's different. That PR that I set, that I'm trying to beat, and we kind of always had the rule of 10 pounds of legs, 5 pounds of upper body. Yeah, it's in that strength realm where you're over that 95% to 100%. It's in that area, but it's not 100% lift, really. I don't, how many times have I actually failed a PR? Like, almost never.
Right.
Unless it was like a technique, like overhead stuff sometimes, because just the commitment to getting underneath it.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think I've ever failed a squat.
No, I've never.
I don't think I've ever failed a squat. A deadlift, there's been days where just the back, and I know that before I even lift the final weight, where I'm just like, no, not today, just not feeling it. But no bench. I don't know that I've ever failed a bench either, or a variation of some angle or some other bar that we're using. Like, there isn't a lot of failing going on, and I know people are scared of that, but it's just like you can, with all the variations, and if you track them all, like he was saying, track it, you plan it out, you work from, okay, we do a Zercher squat, we do a front squat, we do this type of squat to a box. And then you build yourself, those things take some of that stress off, because a Zercher squat, while heavy, isn't going to tax my nervous system the same way as a 700 whatever pound back squat will. So
it's just going to tax how much you can hold in your arms. It's not necessarily going to tax your back.
like I fail front squats. It has nothing to do with my legs. It's everything to do with front rack position. Can I keep it? That's I'm safe. If that bar drops, that's because I couldn't keep my shoulders back. So
I think we see failed lifts often. It's with other people, and it just because it's so popularized to, I guess, people don't just stick to programming. Planned programming will keep you out of that. And most people just don't have planned programming. And as long as you follow a planned program that's suited for you, you're not going to have that issue.
So
unless you're willingly putting out in a competition-wise, then save the fails for competition.
Absolutely. You should never be injured, and try not to be injured in training, and you should stay away from failure. Obviously, you want to keep progressing, but in a contest, it's going to happen. Have it happen there.
Yep. Have it happen on your last lift. On stage.
We're very cognizant too of like that lift. That last warm-up lift before you take your max. It has to move well. Like, you know what I mean? If it doesn't move well, like we're like, okay, I'm not getting the PR today. I'm not even gonna try it.
And that's just part of
that's
the
just the way it is, you know, like, because it's not worth getting injured because I want to compete. So, I mean, there are ways. You don't have to do the West Side Conjugate. We're strapping 600 pounds of bands. Like, we've never strapped more than maybe like 2 or 3 bands on the side of 150 pounds. We're not doing crazy stuff that's with a suit on. That's you know, the like
the bench shirt with four planks on your
So it's like we're not doing anything crazy. Like it makes sense and it gets you strong and it gets you. It's honestly exactly what I needed because, like I was saying, I needed to learn how to be strong. I had no experience in that at all. All it ever, you know. So
that's wild, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, it was perfect.
So then, what would you see as your main goal? 5 years out, 10 years out, and 20 years out for you in strength?
I would say 5 years. That's about how much longer I'm giving myself to kind of do this. I think you know, I'll pursue this Masters world champion type level guy for the next 5 years. I don't really see, I'm not a guy to say I'm going to be the world's strongest man. I think I'm a little too old for that at this point. I mean, I know I have room to grow, but that's a whole nother level. And I'm not unrealistic. I think it's more realistic to say the world's strongest master. Yeah. I could just want to give myself a shot to say, oh man, I could win, you know, right set of events, good performance, things go my way. I could be the world champion. That's really all I want, and I want that in the next 5 years. I think after that, I kind of do a little bit more, basically just be his partner, and just help train the kids in our community. And you know, I'll probably get back into coaching at some point. Like I said, this year I'm not coaching, but.
So 10 years out, when you don't want to go for the 50 plus? I mean, Mark Felix will be out of it, but he won't be winning it.
I think I'll still probably do strongman for fun.
Like Mike Cromer. I mean, he just won at the Arnold's Masters.
Oh yeah.
And
Mike's still doing
it. More than 10 years older than you.
Yeah, I know he's in the 50 pluses. He just won Arnold, and he was very good at OSG too. Yeah, but. No, I think I might still do it.
If it happens, it happens.
I just stick to more local stuff. I just think, you know, like if I got to right at 50 and I was like, hey, I could do really well, then maybe I would go. I don't know.
Yeah, nothing for certain. You feel it out.
I think for me, it's gonna be hard to train deadlift specifically. I just have a hard to stay on top of deadlift. It's hard, you know. It wrecks me every week. You know, and you got to do it every week. Or, you know, I might do it once a month. I don't know what'll happen exactly, but
lots of rack pulling.
Because you know, because kind of the other part of that is not just about strongman. It's about my health in general. You know, I weigh 375. I don't know if I want to go into my 50s as that big of a guy.
That's true.
Because the original
guys aren't that big.
Yeah, the original reason for me working out, even before the couple months I was kind of doing bodyweight stuff before I started working out with him, was to lose weight and to be healthier. And you know, being over 300 pounds, you know, at a certain age, you know, getting around is just going to get really difficult. I hope that age is 20, 30 years away, but you know. If I break my leg doing strongman when I'm 50, I've also got a 50-year-old wife now that has to help a 350-pound man get around. So that's a big ask, you know. So I think that health will be my number one. I'll come in here. I think that I love this lifestyle, and I'm going to keep lifting and kind of, like I said, be his partner, bring kids in from the school. And just encourage them to be here. And then we'll just kind of have that life experience also to say, hey, I did all this. You know, he knows what he's talking about. Listen to him. I know what I'm talking about. I've had all this experience now. Like, we can coach you. Maybe we'll get lucky someday and then some big kid will be interested in strongman and, you know, have that experience where I can say, hey, I can help you out, you know. And,
just something about the sport. You want to stay with it.
Yeah, for sure. I plan this year. I'm hosting my first competition You know, I haven't actually done it, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about it when it's over. But I'd like to think that I can make that kind of a thing that goes forever, you know? And that kind of helped build this gym up. And then where we're doing that every July, every summer.
Yeah.
I'd really like to just keep that going and just be a summer tradition here in Oregon and grow it and maybe make it as big as some of the other ones you see around, where you start getting maybe a pro class or you get 100 people showing up and, you know, and that would be maybe my contribution. I don't know, you know.
There's so much that's growing in this sport. It's amazing. Like, you know, me, I've only been around it maybe 2 years now. Yeah, about just over 2 years. And, you know, I'm having so much fun with my brand doing all this, you know, on the sports marketing side. Like, I'm not in it for the money for sure, and especially not in this sport. But I'm having almost more fun doing that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna, like, people are so nice in this sport. First of all, they're happy to be there. It's I don't know, it's just a festive, like, kind of, when you get together, it's just everybody's excited and happy and, you know, just great people to be around. So I think when people go and they get to experience it, they're just like, man, I want to keep doing that as many times as possible. It's gonna grow. You get to go and lift cool stuff that you know, people haven't done before.
So with each of you kind of being, you know, in the elder side of things, what's each of your like number one favorite recovery methods that you utilize?
You can go first.
Man, the older I get, I'm 47 right now, the older I get, I realize I have to do more. Just straight up. I have to get more movement, I have to do more stretching, I have to lift more weights. And people would think that'd be counterproductive as you get older. It's not. I have to, one of the greatest things I ever did was meet this guy, because now it's forcing me to do stuff like go out on a Saturday, which I wouldn't have done. I would have just laid on the couch. I'm getting active recovery now. Sometimes that doesn't look very good, but you're grabbing a sandbag and you're moving with it. I'm getting more movement in.
Yes.
It's making me use muscles that I'm building instead of getting tied around the couch. And back in the day with bodybuilding, it was go lift, eat 5 to 8 times a day, and then try to lay around and take naps and rest as much as possible to get ready for the next one. So this is something completely different. And it's opened up another avenue for doing that. So definitely I would say the strongman training that I do with him on Saturdays is probably the best part of recovery.
That's interesting. Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I would say I agree with him. Movement is just going on a walk is honestly probably the best recovery thing. Just a nice slow walk, especially like on the weekends. I like when I go with my wife and just walk around town and just nice, easy stuff like that. I mean, I don't think all that other stuff it gets you the right mindset maybe to recover. Like I have a hot tub, I'll get in there every now and then. It just feels good. Sure. I don't think it's like giving me some super, you know, natural chemical response that makes me recover faster or anything like that, but it feels good. You know, some guys do the ice baths, and I think that's cool. I think it makes you alert, makes you ready to go, makes you feel, you know, it gets you, again, mindset of recovery. I get that, but yeah, I mean, just moving is the best. If I'm real sore, he's got a lot of little tricks of just like little movements with bands and stuff that we'll do to kind of get that body part feeling better. But just, you know, active rest, just
almost what you covered earlier too. It's the not maxing out can be the best preemptive recovery.
Yeah.
You know how many times
you have to recover from.
Yeah, how many times we went in to do a 1 rep max on squat and then just been like, no, this is going to be a 3 rep max day, so we're going to drop the percentage and then beat what we've done for 3 before, so just do it by 1.
Yeah.
And then that sets you up for your next workout. You just feel better when you go into it.
Yeah, like for me, like I like doing the method like for competition days in strongman. I like doing the like 5 days before the comp. I do nothing. That last night I'll eat a bunch of food, you know, it's like Olive Garden or something, and then 5 days after a comp. As long as I push myself in the competition to what I expected to, 5 days after recovery, and then I'll get back in my training. Because when I've tried to train earlier than that, in the at a few spots, I just was burnt out still. You know, your nervous system's pretty shot. If you are maxing on 5 events over half of a day, you are shot and you need that recovery. Some people like to get right back to it. I don't know. Maybe that's just a sign of how much they put out, that they needed to put out for the comp versus, you know, if they gave it their all.
Yeah. I mean, I like what we do. We usually just give it a couple days and then we come back in and we honestly just do what we feel like doing. It's kind of the fun workouts where we're just like, hey,
get moving.
You want to bench press a little bit today? Sure. And then we go and bench press and we kind of, you know, pyramid up and it's like, it's getting heavy. How do I feel? I'll probably stop here. And then we stop there and then you're like, are we doing any back off sets? Nah, you know, or maybe we do want to do them. We just kind of like,
let's switch to triceps.
Yeah, let's do something else. And just get a pump, you know.
Yeah.
Now I go home and look good in the mirror for nobody. But no, that's pretty much what we do after competitions is just we take usually a week of just the first week we come back is usually just when we lift
just
like
movement,
just do whatever we feel like doing, and then the next couple weeks after that even we usually always do hypertrophy type stuff just because it's not strength based stuff and just kind of gives at least 2 weeks of it.
Yeah, you need to get that back.
Yeah.
And so I'm lifting with him and doing the same stuff that he's doing, right?
But he doesn't have the contest.
Right, I don't have a contest, but so I'm doing it, and then I need that back off work because I'm trying to keep up with him. I don't have anything in training for, but I'm trying to push him at the same time and then see what I'm capable of.
So you're doing like a fun deload.
Yeah,
so I'm just praying for like he's got a contest. I'm like, thank God, because now for like the next 3 weeks, my body can catch up a little bit to what this is doing.
And that week after the comp, he usually will try to hit a bench max or something because he deloaded with me going into the contest. I did the contest. He didn't, you know, he's a little exhausted from hanging out at the contest all day, but after a couple days, he'll usually hit it. And that's when I usually bench with him, but I'll just kind of work up. I don't always go for a max then, but he'll go for a max and then, that kind of gives him his thing, you know, at the same time as, and then we kind of just mess around and do what we want to do. So.
Cool. Okay, so let's move on to a little more questions. So I'll ask you first and then he'll move to his answer. What has worked better for you, motivation or discipline? And which do you prefer to help leverage your work?
I'd definitely say discipline. Motivation, like, it's never worked for me. I've been an athlete for however long. That comes and goes. You know, you're going to be motivated 1 week to the next, and there's times where, you know, motivation does impact me for sure. It's always I get obsessed about this getting better for whatever reason, but discipline long term for sure. I mean, I just lift every day because it's what I do. You know, and I need that motivate. I kind of need the contest out there, but even if I'm not signed up for a contest, it's still like the discipline of showing up here. This is my lifestyle now. This is what I do. This is how hard I work. I think it's important to, you know, show that to like my kids as well. I think he probably said the same to his kids. Just like we go to work and work hard every day, and then we also come in here and work hard. It's just part of life. You need to be disciplined if you want, and that's another big thing. And he trains a lot of athletes. It's like teaching those kids like if you want to be good at something, then you have to be disciplined in working towards it. It doesn't just, there's no magic. Kids tend to believe just because they get older and they get a little better at stuff that's always going to happen. But as we know as adults, that does not always happen. It starts to go the other way. So just that, like, yeah, for sure, I lean towards discipline. Yeah.
Feel about the same there?
Oh, absolutely. Discipline's really fleeting. You'll have it, watch a movie and get motivated, and then by the time you do anything with that, it's over with, and that's that. I wake up at 3:05 every morning and make an hour drive to Woodburn to go to work. And not one morning am I ever motivated when I wake up to go to work. So it's not the motivation, it's definitely, you know, the motivation isn't there to make a paycheck. The discipline's there so that I can do it every single day so that I can get that paycheck.
Yeah.
And I deal with this the same way. There's plenty of times, and it should be really easy because this is literally 50 feet from my front door. But it's no easier to go here than it is to drive to go to a gym. It's just you have to make that decision. I have to do this. 6 months from now, the shape that I want to be in, I'm not going to care 6 months from now how I felt today.
Yeah.
That's how I basically do it. Who cares how you're feeling? Who cares that you're tired today? You want to get good at what you're doing. It has no bearing on that. You set your goals, reverse engineer it to the daily, and then just go for it.
Okay. I see that, there is no wrong answer to this, I believe, For like someone like me, I've always struggled with discipline, and that's where motivation, I've done really well at trying to hook onto motivation. That's why going to competitions is what keeps me lifting. Pushing myself I climb Mount St. Helens every summer now. I've done it the past few years, and I'm always the biggest guy up there, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But it pushes me to get conditioned every summer because I don't have the discipline to. So it's a motivational discipline.
Yeah. There's
some people just aren't capable of certain of that, and you just have to learn what you are can leverage.
Yeah, I definitely think there's especially early on, it was motivation. I think it's just turned into discipline is because early on I was motivated because I'd have numbers at the contest that it's like, man, if I don't train, I'm going to be really embarrassed because I can't do any of that stuff. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so, but now it's like I can do everything, and that's not going to work for me anymore. Just to show up and say, oh, can I do it? And I honestly don't really care either. Like, yeah, I'm going to try to win and be first place, but like, I don't really care that much. Like, because I know there's so many people out there in strongman. Some, Zach Price could come show up at any strongman competition and he's going to beat me. So it doesn't really, I'm not training to be first. I'm just training to be the best version of myself, and I like the training now. I like how it makes me feel day to day, and so it's turned into discipline, where maybe it used to be motivation. I still get motivated about things at times. In fact, all the program we're doing right now, and he let me write the programming for this block, and
that was a mistake.
Yeah, now it's a mistake. Because at the computer, I'm really motivated, and I'm typing out all the stuff we're gonna do, and then to get in the gym, it's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? So we've been destroying ourselves for about 6 weeks now, trying to
get in condition,
and it's working.
It's good on paper.
Yeah, you're motivated when you're sitting behind that computer, but
just like you then post competition, you guys talk about you lift the fun stuff. You're building a motivation to get that discipline back.
Yeah.
Well, part of the deload.
That's part of the motivation for me is to get to the deload. as simple as that sounds, it's for real because, sometimes I come in here and I have to push him. So how does somebody who's smaller lifting lighter weights push him? By doing it. Because it's percentage based usually. Yeah. And if I get through a set, he's got to go do it too. Yeah. And there's times that I don't know if I can do it, but I just keep doing it.
Yeah, because when I tell people not everyone can be a Jocko or a Goggins, so you can't just sit there and say, oh, I broke my feet and went for a mile run after my foot was broken. Right. Yeah. I don't have that discipline or motivation ever.
Yeah.
And I never will, but that's okay. Yeah. There's people like that as outliers, and we don't always have to see what we see in the media as the standard.
Right.
Yeah.
We all have our own ways of getting by. It's just as you both explained.
Yeah, and so you're talking about motivation. When I started in the gym, I was really motivated. That was just motivation, man. This is brand new, but I've been doing it for a couple decades now. Yeah. And I've beaten my body down so much that it really, at this point, it's not a motivation point that keeps me going. I am motivated when I get a new client in. Get really motivated to see them grow. The motivation's there for me to come out here and do this all the time with him. It'd be a lot easier if I just went to a gym for 45 minutes and got a good pump and then walked out. Way easier lifestyle, but that's not what I'm into it for. I'm really into it to, like we said before, to really push athletes and give back to all the people that helped me out when I first started.
Well, and I think, I mean this in a positive way as possible, but I think Aaron is a gym rat. He is. That's just who he is. He's gonna be in the gym. I mean, even days where he's having some back problems or whatever, he still comes out here. And if I'm working out for 2 hours, he still stays there the whole time and just hangs out with me. he still wants to be in the gym. He still, you know, we talk about lifting weights or whatever else, or bodybuilding or strongman or powerlifting, or, you know, like that's just part of who we are now, I think.
Sure, of course.
And,
like
yeah.
you said, you started in the 90s. You said 96 is kind of...
Graduated in 96. It was probably 97 and 98-ish, about a year afterwards that I started to get into it. And then in 99, I was in full swing of...
Sure, exactly. So, yeah, and you're in it that long. I mean, I was born in 96, if that's any comparison, you know. So my whole life's worth, you've been, you know, doing stuff.
And when you're seeing gains, it's really motivating. And
Yeah.
you use that motivation, and it really springboards you along. And if you've been doing it for a long time, those gains become minimal. As much as maybe lifting for 6 months, I might be able to put a 5-pound PR on my bench press.
Yeah.
And then I get motivation from that, and it's a recharge. Okay, let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, recharge. Because, you know, motivation will harden into a discipline, and you just got to have more motivation add on top to keep adding to that layer.
Yeah.
I think. Cool. So, I guess we've kind of covered this in most of this already, you know, for outreach in the community. You guys both work with a lot of students, a lot of youth in the area. Do you guys, so your coaching time, you know, with school sports, you work with community kids and lifting in general.
And I have coached basketball. I coach my kids basketball
Okay.
in 5th and 6th grade.
Sweet.
At a small level, yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, yeah, you guys do plenty of that stuff. Okay. All right, we're going to get in a little bit of fun questions because we're getting closer to the end of this. So I'll ask each of you the answers of this. So what is your favorite equipment or event you've ever used?
Favorite equipment or event that I've ever used, like at a contest. I mean, the car walk at OSG was pretty cool. I mean, just
That's iconic.
to be
Yeah.
to be someone who's been in one of those cars, that's kind of, I'd have to probably put that at the top. I mean, Thor's hammer's pretty cool.
All right, I was hoping.
You know,
The SDA
honestly, being
hammers.
one of the first people to ever lift it was kind of cool for me. That even though it wasn't in a contest at that time, but yeah, I would say those are really the only. I'm trying to think if I had done anything else unique.
So far, I mean, that's a good answer. Like the car one, it's stuff that's like in the sport of strongman, so much of it has history. Like equipment has history.
Yeah.
You know, it just means so much more. I've never seen that in any other sport. You know, like you don't know if you're using the same. I don't know if someone goes to an old school gym and you know, Ronnie Coleman used these dumbbells.
Yeah.
You don't know if he really did or not, but that would be cool. It's hard to get that connection, but in this sport, I mean, even to the Husafell stone, you know, which is my favorite, you know, up in Iceland, that's been there for hundreds of years being used for it. There's so much depth. It's you know, the Mona Lisa, you know, of things.
I'm excited for the Rainier because we're gonna use some of the IFSA equipment, so get to try some of that. You know,
They told me about that before they released it when I was up there talking to them.
Yeah.
And it was super exciting.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I'll be pressing a heavy enough log because if you're towards the end, I heard on the max log that you'll get an opportunity to press on the IFSA log. So hopefully
You can go to their gym and use it too.
Yeah.
They have it. They said people can.
That'd be pretty cool.
So what about you? I know you use a lot of standard equipment and stuff, but whether it be strongman or a specific thing.
Specifically was the bench press. We took a trip to Venice Beach, and I got a lift on the iconic.
See,
Venice
there we go.
Beach, and it was the bench pressing at Venice Beach because there's a fence around it.
Yep.
And with just tourists packed all around watching the lift, that was a pretty unique experience. It was really fun.
That's one of the top things in that realm. Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect comparison.
And that actually kind of reminds me, you're asking me about my, 5, 10, 20 years from now, and am I going to still compete and all that. I think honestly some of the stuff that we'll probably start doing once I'm kind of giving up this strongman is just going to like the Arnold and
traveling
or going to Venice Beach and just lifting weights together and
seeing all that
I
stuff.
want to visit a lot of gyms.
Yeah.
This whole gym tour thing, I mean, if it ever grows, it grows outside of just our area. All right, so for you, what would be the piece of equipment that you one day like dream of getting to use or touch in a competition or just in training?
I don't know what's out there.
There is a lot out there.
Yeah. Something like a Husafeld Stone to like actually go
to Iceland on a guy's trip.
Because you'll see that would be pretty cool. I think if you're really a strongman fan, like that's probably it. Some of those logs, like what's the one log?
The Austrian oak.
Austrian oak would be pretty cool. See if I could lift the empty Austrian oak. I don't know how much that weighs. I think it's 300 and something.
Yeah.
Empty. So do something like that. Be really cool. I'm trying to think if there's any weird deadlift things that are...
So not something you really thought about intensely, specifically?
Not really. I mean...
Something I talked about in my last video is how that helped me motivationally, like for my long-term goals, is because I love the story of the Husafell Stone, and that's what kind of got me learning about strongman. If I'm capable of carrying it for a full lap, then that's my goal. So if I can train and become strong enough to do that, a lot of work has to be put in to carry that stuff.
Just pick that thing up off the ground.
Yeah, and then take it for a lap. If I'm capable of that, that means I've hit a lot of training over the years to be capable of.
So, that's pretty cool.
I just like the history on some of those things. But there's a lot. There really is. You got those gold dumbbells, those 300-pound dumbbells. I just saw Mitch Hooper having the video recently rowing on them.
I have lifted the Thomas Inch replica. That's one of them.
I've
lifted the replica with a couple times. What's the one that's a little bit heavier though? I've not tried that.
The one that Mark Henry did?
Well, I think,
Right? Is that the one we're talking about?
Well, I think Mark Henry just did one hand and he just did it over his head. He took it from the ground to above his head with the Thomas Inch. No, there's another one that's like 190 some pounds.
Is it the one that Lucas did at North America's Strongest?
Maybe.
He said he's the only person to get more than one rep of.
Yeah, I think it might be that one. Or no, that's an even heavier one, I believe. That's like 200 something.
He's the only person to get two reps.
So there's that one too. The sear dumbbell. So that would be, I mean, I wasn't thinking that because I was thinking like a grip thing.
Okay.
Something like that. So those little grip challenges are cool. But no, I've never really been into like specific items so far. I mean, all that stuff's cool. The first time I saw the Thomas Inch replica, I was like, Jeff Walling had that, and he had it at Brian Bain's contest, and he had it sitting there on the side because they lifted that. And I was like, ooh, I want to try that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the first one. So just grip stuff.
Okay. So but that's part of you guys. You're wanting to travel, check out other gyms, other shows.
Yeah.
That stuff just pops up.
Well, I would say probably for both of us just to go to Westside Barbell and lift in the old, right?
Put one of those sweaty bench shirts on.
Yeah. Well, that'll transition to my answer. Probably the belt squat pit shark machine at Westside.
Yeah. Go there and use all their.
Well, I want to buy one. Those are expensive, but imagine the possibilities of training athletes. You can train a baseball player and he's taking cuts while he's holding the weight on his waist. So that's absolutely it. You got to definitely go to the Arnold. Go to Westside, the old Westside, and then train there.
Cool. So that's perfect answer. It's funny. The last guy I did an interview with, as well as my coach, they both have different versions of the Squat MD. That's Titan's version of that.
Yeah.
Where it's an elevated and for squatting like that. It's so nice to deload the spine, get a really good get your quads on fire.
Nice pop going. Your back has no business in there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like to lift at Elite FTS. It'd be fun to go use that gym. I'd say those two gyms, Elite FTS, Westside Barbell.
Matt Wedding's gym over there.
Yeah, just it'd be fun to go to Ohio, honestly, and just kind of hit all those things. So,
Yeah, like the road facility.
Yeah, road facility. Yeah, just honestly, just do a little tour like that. And
I'd love to go to all the main strongman guys' gyms. Hit up Wreck-It Gym down in San Francisco.
Yeah.
From Martine's or of course Thor's gym up in Iceland in Reykjavik. I think is how you pronounce it, right?
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Some of the ones that they own, that are commercial, so you can't go use it without a specific invite.
Right.
Those are still iconic.
Yeah.
You can go on the same platform and weights that he used on the world record, on a 501. That's cool. You can just do that with a day pass.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a cool entry.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could have one food place to hit all your macros for an entire month, but you could only eat there, where would you pick?
I'd pick. Yeah, I don't know. Jeez, I gotta get all my macros. They gotta have a lot of. I like the Best Little Roadhouse. I can just eat steak there, or prime rib every night.
Okay, something like that. That's a lot of range in a place like that.
Yeah, and they got a little bit of everything else. Heck, McDonald's. Sit up with double cheeseburgers.
The 70-30 patties.
Yeah.
You know.
If you eat there a whole month, man, I'd probably have some kind of
You live longer.
heart disease when I
Preserve.
Yeah.
Preserve you a little bit.
Yeah.
Or
So
okay.
I'd say something like that, but I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, like the steakhouse. I mean, that made sense. That's a good answer because they have everything.
Yeah.
I'm going with any taco truck there is.
Taco trucks?
Yeah, because you could just load up the carne asada
Oh,
and just
man.
hammer that.
That's fair.
Might have really high blood pressure after that.
I always tell people when I answer after I let people answer, I always say Chipotle for me.
Yeah,
I can eat
Chipotle,
Chipotle
yeah.
burrito every day.
Yeah.
You know, their temporary stuff that they have in is always fun. You know, and you just load up. You get all their nutritional facts on their website, so you know what you're putting in.
Yeah.
That just me.
That's a good one.
Used to be Subway, but Subway isn't as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
No, it's
I'm
not
not a big.
close.
I'm not a
When I was a
big
kid, I
fan.
could eat there every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Back before Jared went to prison. And then just all went the hell out of there.
We had to get one thing in there. So, if you could go pro in any sport that you've never played,
Never played.
what would it be?
Oh, jeez.
I've
I
adapted
don't think it's a sport. Just say like video games or something. You just get to sit there and play games. I mean, what could be easier than that, right?
Okay.
If you're good enough. I guess that could be stressful. Man, something I've never played. But like I just magically have the ability and now I'm good at it?
Yes.
Or like,
Yes, you are elite level and able to be drafted into it. If it has a draft procedure.
probably golf. Right?
There we
That's
go.
a solid answer.
Golf is, I mean, I've played golf though, but like, I'm not
But you
at a
didn't
high
play
level,
collegiate or
no, nothing like that. Yeah, just because you can play that the rest of your life, and if you're really good, like they let you play for free everywhere because they're just like, oh,
That's true.
there's
Take some pictures.
pro, JD Hill, he's the world's best golfer, and yeah, so,
Golf ball whacker guy.
yeah, so yeah, that would be. I'm gonna go with golf. Yeah.
I usually when I ask this question, I say in any sport, but then they always end up saying some sport that they already did play. And I know
Yeah,
you
yeah.
probably say basketball. So
I
think
probably
was that.
wouldn't say basketball, honestly.
Really? That was your thing, though.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay.
I don't. I guess if I had the ability, I guess why not? You're gonna make the most money being a basketball player, right? So yeah, maybe that I would say that. You're right.
If it was that, that's why I'm going to start incorporating that part of the question.
Yeah.
It has to be a sport you didn't play on like a
Yeah.
high level, like outside of high school. Let's say.
Yeah.
So, what do you think?
Bull riding.
Bull riding.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that would be. Wish I had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Can you imagine me?
Get a good
6'6"
punctured lung. break the bull in half.
Well, when I
Ah!
graduated high school, I weighed 147 pounds, so I was probably prime for bull riding.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I mean,
Bowling would be fun too. I used to be pretty good at bowling.
Is bowling a sport though?
Yeah. It is. You got a hand-eye coordination. Yeah.
golf was a good answer. I mean, it'd be fun to go to the
Just
Olympics for something like curling, just
Yeah.
because
No.
Yeah, I wish I could skate good, so I would just like the ability
You
to skate.
could.
Hockey, I would have loved, I would love to try hockey, but skating just makes that, I can't skate. I'm terrible at skating. That's probably my worst, like if I had a worst sport, it'd be skating, skateboarding. Yeah.
What about
Bad
soccer?
experience.
Soccer.
Soccer, the running is really what holds me back.
You know, Tom Stoltman plays, like, he played at a higher league team, like, a couple years ago. He played
Yeah,
bowling.
it was probably a celebrity. Yeah.
But still, it was he regularly plays soccer, which was kind of interesting.
I could be goalie.
Yeah, take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have any social media accounts you want to shout out before we get over with? On where we can find you?
Yeah, at World's Strongest Math Teacher on Instagram would be my main account. I have a Facebook, but it just replays everything from my Instagram. So
Okay.
yeah, so at World's Strongest Math Teacher. So
All right.
yeah.
Do you have anything?
And for me on TikTok, Aaron Farmen.
All right, on TikTok. Okay, that'll be where that's at. So, thank you guys for sitting down with us, with me today, with us. No, thanks for sitting down with me today. You can follow us on Strong Dad Apparel on Instagram and Facebook. We have SDA Athletics on YouTube, or Strong Dad Apparel on YouTube. It's under both names, and then SDA Athletics on Spotify. So you can check us out at strongdadapparel.com. Thanks, guys.